joy deep down inside me. I'm not gonna shake. Been stressed for so long, so stuck in my own way. So I'ma enjoy this moment. It's the day that the Lord has made. Nothing to say, nothing to talk down. Oh, let's put tomorrow away and live right now. So let's not waste another day. From 2 for 9 to season. Oh, let's take nothing to say, nothing to talk down.
Aloha everyone, and welcome back to my channel. So for this video, I wanted to share with you guys of how far I've come with my epilepsy journey, and I wanted to share with you guys of some struggles I had to endure over the years and some excuses I've made with regarding my disability as well. So yeah, let's get into it. So over my absolutely thought my epilepsy is what defined me. I just kept on making excuses for myself, like, oh, I can't do X, Y, and Z because I have epilepsy or I have a weaker arm. So I told myself, like, I can't do certain things, which is the reality, okay, because I can't do certain things, but I know I am capable of doing a lot more than what I think I can. So throughout the years, I absolutely thought, like, my disability is what defines me. When you are at a certain age, when you are a kid and you are in elementary school, it doesn't really bother you as much. But when you get to your teen years, it starts to bother you. And that's what happened to me. Like, when I was in elementary school, like, it really didn't bother me at all. Like, I could answer the question, oh, what happened to your arm? I could answer it no problem, like, oh, I had a stroke. But, like, even now, like, answering that question, especially if it's coming from a little kid, I don't know how to answer it. Like, the only way I know how to answer it is, oh, I'm like Nemo, that's the only way I can explain it to a little kid. And oftentimes that question can bother me, but the two main questions that I get often is, what happened to your arm and can you drive? The question about my arm is from little kids, and can you drive is from adults, basically. But throughout the years, growing up, when I was like in my teen years, I absolutely thought that's all I was. Okay, this is what defines me. My epilepsy is what defines me. I have seizures. I have a weaker arm, so I'm not as good as my friends or some people in my family. I actually thought people that I was friends with, I actually thought they were prettier than me, which is so silly. But that was my train of thought. I think every teenager goes through that phase of, like, oh, they're better than me, or I will never measure up to certain people who are in my life. When you are a teenager, you do go through that phase of comparison. But looking back on my life now, that was just so silly to even compare myself to my best friends, because comparison is a gateway to destruction. It's a gateway to depression, and that's what happened to me. It just made me feel more bad about myself. It made me more depressed, and I was like that for years. Back then when I was 10 years old, it really didn't bother me as much. But, the start of the age of 14, 15, it really started to bother me. And that lasted up until like my mid-20s, and I'm in my mid-20s now. And I'm starting to realize, like, my epilepsy is not what defines me. I can do, certain things that people can't do. I'm very grateful for the fact that I don't have seizures anymore. I'm doing really good on the medication that I'm on. I haven't had a seizure since I was 7. I haven't had like a really big grand mal seizure since I was 7. I haven't had like an absent mini seizure, like a very daisy zoned out seizure since I was 12. So I'm very grateful for those things, because I know people that I do know, they have the same epilepsy disorder that I have, and they're still having seizures. So I'm very grateful for the fact that I don't have seizures anymore. And that doesn't mean that it can't come back. My doctor said, like, because you don't have seizures, it doesn't necessarily mean it can't come back. So that means I have to take care of myself, keep myself hydrated. But throughout my life, I just feel like, I think it's very common and very normal to feel a certain way about yourself and feel like, is this ever going to end? And like feeling down about yourself and feeling like you will never get out of this rut, and feeling like you are just so unworthy to do certain things. And the reality is, I know I'm capable of doing a lot of things, but I know the other reality is, I know I can't do certain things. I know I'm not capable of doing things that people are capable of doing. Like, I know it's a back and forth with certain people. People say I can drive, and then other people are telling me that I can't. In my last video, I mentioned that, it could be a possibility one day, but just not today, I feel like it would have to be like a lot of steps for that to happen. And especially with this arm, like, you would need like a lot of physical therapy, a lot of occupational therapy as well. And I feel like it would just have a lot of steps, a lot of factors need to be involved for me to even drive. So there's a lot of back and forth with that situation. People are saying, well, I can't drive, and other people are saying, hold up, pump the brakes, Kiana, which, I understand other people's perspective on it, but my opinion is I really don't want to drive. I think driving is a scary thing. I do consider myself a passenger princess because, I really can't at the moment. And does it get irritating at times? Yes, it does. Because of course I would like the luxury of driving or picking up my friends and, not having my parents drive me to places and, all of those things, of course. But all I'm saying is not right now. I know it will take me a lot to get to that point, There's a lot of steps and a lot of factors involved in that. But, with regarding my journey with epilepsy, I'm just so very grateful that I've come so far with my journey. And I feel like I'm starting to realize of how strong I am. You know, I look back on my life and I feel like, wow, I've come so far. You know, I think within this past year, I'm starting to realize, you know, my epilepsy and my disability is not what defines me. You know, the only thing that really matters in this life is what God thinks about me and what I think of myself. You know, when I was coming more into my walk and coming in like more strong with my walk with God, more people who were of the church were coming up to me and they were like, you know, Kiana, God doesn't see your disability. And I was just so thrown off by that because my whole life I identified with like, I have a disability. I'm okay with like, I have a disability. And I wore that my whole life. And I still like struggle with that every now and then because like I have to come to this realization not everybody's going to see me the way Jesus sees me. You know, I struggled with the fact that like, you know, certain people who were of the church were telling me that like, oh, God doesn't see your disability. God doesn't see your disability. Oh, can I pray for you because God doesn't see your disability? I struggled with it. I really did. I struggled with that, and I was mad at God. I was like, you created me, and you don't see my disability. You don't see this wonky arm. You don't see that, and yeah, I was really mad at him. And I was confused. I was really confused for the longest time. I was like, how can you not see this? How can you not see that I have a disability? How can you not see that I have a seizure disorder? How can you not see what I'm seeing? I don't, you know, it's not until we take off our blinders and give it to God. If you do have an epilepsy disorder or brain injury or something similar, know that you are worthy of this life. And yeah, I think that whatever you're feeling right now is very valid, and know that you can conquer all things if you just set your mind to it. But yeah, I just want to share this like little prayer that my friend Rinsley prayed upon me a couple of years ago. This was like maybe 2 or 3 years ago, and I think it's so relevant to what I'm going through right now in this time of maturity and this time of my spiritual growth as well, and this time of giving myself self-love and self-care. Anyway, here it is.
I just looked over you and I just heard the words death to life. And I felt like the Lord was saying that all of the things that are in your life right now, all of the like bad things that you don't like, and the things that are hard and that are weighing you down, I felt like He was saying that like one day you're gonna look at those things and that they are gonna be completely different, and they are not gonna be the way that you see them now. I feel like the Lord is going to take those things and He's going to turn them around for your good. Jesus, I thank you that you are the God of restoration, that you are the God of raising the dead. Jesus, I thank you that you see every detail of Kiana's life. Not one thing is missed. yet you still want to hear her talk about it and tell you all about it. But Father, I thank you that you know exactly what's going on to the micro details, to the very nth degree of which you could know what's going on. And you don't leave Kiana to figure it out on her own, but you have the answers. I thank you for the grace that you are giving her to be patient and to keep her eyes fixed on you as you transform what seems to be dead, Father. That her eyes would be fixed on your eyes of fire that burn passionately for her. I just pray for your rest, your true rest, and your true peace over Kiana. In Jesus' name.
I think it's just an amazing prayer, and on top of it, Rinsley is an amazing prayer warrior, and I think it just correlates to what I'm talking about, and just hearing it, you know, throughout the years. You know, this was a prayer that she prayed over me like 2 or 3 years ago, and hearing it over the years and listening to it, I would cry because I would feel like, you know, I would feel like I was never good enough still. I would feel like, oh, God, you know, I'll never measure up or whatever. And I thought back then, you know, it's my disability is what defined me still. And yeah. But I just felt like that was just a relevant thing to what I'm talking about. And yeah, I hope that this gave you some hope. And I hope this made your day a little bit brighter. And if you do have an epilepsy disorder or a brain injury, or if you have any disabilities that's remotely similar to mine, know that you are worthy and know that you are more capable of doing things. This is it for this video. Know that you are beautiful, for you're fearfully and wonderfully made. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. I'll see you guys next time. Bye!